Christine, how much does it hurt the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out?
It is devastating to the WNBA when Caitlin.
The WNBA had a clear responsibility: protect Caitlin Clark. But they dropped the ball. And now the consequences are unfolding fast. With Clark sidelined due to injury, the league is feeling the impact. Viewer numbers have nosedived by over 50%. Ticket sales have taken a major hit, and the once bright hopes for the league's resurgence are quickly fading. This isn't just a streak of misfortune. It's a situation the league allowed to happen by failing to shield its biggest draw from repeated physical targeting. Now, the fallout is forcing a harsh reality into the spotlight. The WNBA may not be a thriving ecosystem of stars, but rather a league carried by a single breakout figure. And that figure may now be out of the picture.
We're expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said one player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion, but
before Caitlin Clark burst onto the scene, the WNBA quietly operated on the fringes of the sports world, supported by a devoted but relatively small audience. Her arrival changed everything. What followed wasn't just hype, it was a measurable, game-changing phenomenon. Dubbed the Clark Effect, her influence turned near-empty arenas into packed events, with fans lining up around the block. The demand became so overwhelming that games had to be moved to larger NBA venues, not as a hopeful gesture, but because there was simply no other way to accommodate the crowds.
And the truth is the truth, and the data is there. And what we saw when Caitlin was out the last time, the 5 games that she missed earlier in the season, the WNBA's viewership dropped more than 50%. Not just the Fever, but the entire league.
What were once modestly priced WNBA tickets suddenly skyrocketed in value, with resale prices reaching into the hundreds and sometimes even thousands of dollars. For the first time ever, the league wasn't just a niche sports story. It became front-page news. Long-standing viewership records were shattered one after another. Caitlin Clark wasn't merely a standout rookie. She became an economic engine, injecting energy, visibility, and tens of millions of dollars into a league that had long struggled for all three. But beneath this rapid rise, a troubling reality was beginning to take shape, one that threatened to unravel the very progress she had ignited.
Injury jumped to her groin likely because of compensation. But the thing that you have to be careful of is if, say, you try to rush her back from this injury as well, then you're getting into this territory where a very serious injury can happen. That is what the Indiana Fever, that is what Caitlin need to avoid the best that they possibly can. So if it means that Caitlin is out for 3 weeks, if it means that she is out all the way through All-Star, then so be it.
Almost right away, a troubling pattern took shape. Caitlin Clark became the focal point of a level of physical play that crossed well beyond the line of competitive intensity or standard rookie initiation. It wasn't just tough defense, it was persistent, deliberate, and at times, dangerously reckless. Opponents appeared more focused on making a statement than actually defending the game. Cheap shots, off-ball collisions, blindside hits, and hard shoves after the whistle started to feel less like isolated incidents and more like part of the routine in every Indiana Fever matchup.
Clark went down. The WNBA ratings have dropped over 55%.
Yikes.
Across the board.
Hey, guess what, guys?
The league is Caitlin Clark.
The league is Caitlin Clark. She is the WNBA, guys.
Sidelined with a left quad strain May 24th. National TV viewership has plunged since then 55%. Before the injury, the Fever, her team, were averaging 1.81 million viewers, almost 2 million. Since her injury, fewer than 850,000.
While some league insiders and commentators brushed off the escalating contact as part of a typical welcome to the league experience, Many fans and neutral observers saw something far more troubling. It looked like a league losing control of its players and, worse, neglecting its responsibility to protect its most important star. Each uncalled foul and overlooked cheap shot sent a loud, dangerous signal. Targeting Caitlin Clark wasn't just tolerated. It felt tacitly approved. The WNBA was playing a risky game, and it seemed inevitable that someone would eventually pay the price with a serious injury.
News is alarming for the league, and it's alarming for the league because this is such a crucial year for the WNBA. At the end of this season, the WNBA will go into CBA negotiations. If negotiations go well, then every single player in the WNBA has a much better chance of making so much more in their next contract. And that's one thing when you start thinking about how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark got injured. A lot of people stopped watching because they are boycotting the WNBA. They don't want to give viewership to any other teams or any other players, whether they like other players on the team or not, because of how the media and the league itself has handled Caitlin Clark and how they have treated her fans.
There's only so much physical abuse the human body can endure before it gives out. The constant, unchecked physicality directed at Caitlin Clark eventually took its toll. It began with a strained left quadriceps, sidelining her during key matchups. Soon after, a lingering groin injury emerged, an issue many experts believe stemmed from her attempts to push through the initial injury, overcompensating and worsening the strain. As the pain mounted, so did the impact on her performance. The shooting accuracy that once defined her game began to falter, and her usual sharpness gave way to visible signs of struggle on the court.
What's really concerning about this is the fact that we are only a month into the regular season, and Caitlin Clark has already been out with 2 injuries. With the first one being her having to miss some time with a left quad strain. Now, of course, this is concerning because if you're already on your second injury, you don't want to be that player that is always hurt. Cough, cough, Embiid, cough, cough, Anthony Davis. So I really do hope that the fever really sits her out right now for a while, only because you don't want her to have more long-term injuries and be more prone to.
This wasn't simply a stroke of bad luck or an isolated incident. It was a foreseeable, avoidable consequence of a league that permitted its marquee player to be targeted repeatedly, like a human piñata. The very catastrophe critics had cautioned against for weeks had finally unfolded. Now, with Clark sidelined, the true vulnerability of the WNBA's emerging dominance was laid bare for all to see.
Man, bruh. Congratulations to the WNBA. Your ratings are going to drop by 55 to 60% once again. I believe the WNBA have successfully broken Caitlin Clark.
The moment Caitlin Clark left the court, the empire she helped build started to unravel. The consequences were swift, severe, and impossible to ignore. Nationally televised WNBA games saw viewership plummet by an astonishing 55%. The Indiana Fever, once boasting the hottest ticket in sports, experienced a 53% drop in their own audience. Numbers. Yet, the clearest sign of the crisis was reflected in the collapse of ticket prices.
As big a deal as Tiger was in men's golf, Keith, he did, and when he was gone, it affected the ratings, but nothing like that. And, Michael Jordan being out, maybe a 5 percentage points or something. Nothing like this. You can make a strong case, and I will make that case, and have that there is no one single athlete more important to his or her sport or tour or whatever the circuit is that they play on than Caitlin Clark is to the WNBA.
A highly anticipated rematch between the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky saw ticket prices plunge by more than 70%, dropping from an average of $202 to a mere $95 once Clark's name was no longer on the roster. Across all the games she missed, the average ticket price tumbled from a solid $130 down to just $80. NBA arenas, booked to handle the surge in Clark-driven demand, suddenly felt vast and empty. The numbers told a harsh story. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA wasn't just losing fans. it was spiraling into a severe financial decline. Yet, the monetary losses were only part of the issue. The deeper and more lasting harm was being done to the league's very reputation.
I don't even know where to begin, man. I hope Caitlin Clark is okay. I want to know when this injury even happened, bro, because let's be serious here. She has the quad injury. Mind you, Caitlin Clark hadn't missed a game since she was like 19 years old, since she was like 18 in college or something. Now she has a groin injury. We've never seen Caitlin Clark play as bad as she played the last 3 games. Let's just be serious here. She's like 1 for 20-something on threes in the last 3. We've never seen her shoot the ball this way. I'll say that. Has she been hurt and playing through this?
As the numbers plummeted, the league's reaction moved from passive to perplexing. Rather than confronting the crisis head-on and committing to better safeguard its stars, the WNBA and some veteran players dug in their heels, falling back on the worn-out claim that it was simply competitive basketball. This outright denial, despite mounting evidence, sparked a second crisis, a crisis of trust and credibility. Fans were left feeling frustrated and furious.
About Caitlin, she's a warrior. She's tough. You hear me? Bruh, you just don't see players. You don't see female basketball players like her. I'm sorry. I done seen a lot of female basketball players, like I said.
Fans felt insulted, as if their trust and intelligence were being disregarded. The league they had only recently begun to invest their time and money in now seemed fundamentally flawed and dishonest. A boycott movement quickly gained momentum, with thousands of new supporters pledging to skip WNBA games, whether Clark played or not, until the league made player safety a real priority. The league's refusal to act had turned its greatest star into its biggest controversy, pushing away the very fans who were crucial to its survival and future growth.
I believe the physicality and all this hacking and fouling that goes on, she getting blindsided by Marina Mabry. I think all of this stuff is having a wear and tear and an impact. And all you guys are doing are hurting yourselves, because the numbers are going to drop and drop and drop. And trust me, when it's time for that collective bargaining agreement, they are going to point to this and say, well, how can we give you guys all this money? What happens if she gets hurt?
The timing of this self-inflicted setback couldn't be worse, revealing what could turn into a billion-dollar error. The WNBA is approaching negotiations for a groundbreaking new media rights deal, one that was expected to rest firmly on the undeniable success of the Clark effect and the record-breaking ratings she brought in. But now, network executives are faced with a league whose value feels unstable and hinges precariously on the well-being of just one player.
Because of the way they play the game, because I love the WNBA, I love the way they play the game. But we really watch it because Caitlin Clark and everybody watching. Now listen, if I keep bumping her, knocking her down, might get her a concussion, you might hurt her for real. For 2 weeks, she was done with like a hamstring. She was down. 55% of the viewership was down. She comes back the next game, it's about 3 million viewers. Now let me tell you something. Growing up in the hood, they teach you this. Always protect the money. Y'all keep hurting her and all that. She going for a year or 2. Ain't nobody gonna watch it. If nobody watches, how y'all gonna make and generate money?
Executives will look at the 55% plunge in ratings and face a harsh reality. Why invest heavily in a product that falls apart the moment a single player gets sidelined? The very athletes responsible for those reckless fouls, and the league that allowed it, may have triggered a massive act of self-sabotage, potentially costing themselves and every player in the league hundreds of millions in future earnings.
What I saw walk into the game is what the media don't see. Thousands of kids.
Wearing what, Gil?
Kids. Huh?
What were they
Caitlin Clark jerseys.
Were they Fever jerseys? Were they Iowa jerseys? Were they
wherever she played? It was whatever she played.
And that's what was more impressive to me.
It did that. It wasn't just it was Caitlin in the back.
For her style of play.
But her style of play. But it wasn't what we were. It wasn't adults. Right. It was parents bringing their kids and their friends. Mm-hmm. Them seats was kids field.
Right.
And that's what they don't understand. They don't grasp that part of it.
To fully understand the scale of this crisis, it's important to put it into historical perspective. When Tiger Woods was sidelined by injury, golf ratings dipped, but they didn't collapse overnight. When Michael Jordan retired, the NBA took a hit, but the league's overall strength remained unquestioned. Those were established multi-billion-dollar enterprises. The WNBA is not there yet. Caitlin Clark was burdened with a responsibility few modern athletes have ever faced. She wasn't simply asked to be a star, she was tasked with building an entire league's relevance almost single-handedly. She met this immense pressure with remarkable poise and humility, continually redirecting attention to her teammates and the league as a whole. Instead of rallying around her to build a dynasty, the WNBA allowed jealousy and internal politics to fester. This toxic environment now threatens to unravel the progress she worked so hard to inspire. It's a heartbreaking story of missed opportunity. While the league office stumbled in its public response, the deeper issue was brewing in plain sight. In locker rooms and on the court, the aggression toward Clark wasn't random. It was fueled by a barely hidden resentment from a faction of veteran players who felt their status was being challenged. Public remarks minimizing her talent, veiled criticisms suggesting she hadn't earned her spot, and a general dismissiveness created a hostile atmosphere. What unfolded was a classic clash between the established guard and the emerging phenom. Instead of seeing Clark's unprecedented media attention and endorsement success as a rising tide lifting everyone, some viewed it as a personal affront. This internal divide hampered the league's ability to address the situation effectively. How do you enforce protections when influential voices within the league justify the very fouls that endanger your biggest star? This revealed a deep cultural rot. The biggest threat to the WNBA's growth wasn't external competition, but internal division. In today's hyper-connected world, managing the narrative is as crucial as winning games, and the WNBA failed on both fronts. The league's handling of the Clark situation spiraled into a public relations disaster. Every cheap shot and questionable no-call was immediately captured, analyzed, and debated across social media by millions, with the league constantly lagging behind. Official responses were slow, corporate, and tone-deaf, satisfying no one and stoking further outrage. Meanwhile, fan-made videos documenting the pattern of physical targeting went viral, proving far more compelling than any press release the league issued. The WNBA lost control of its own story. Instead of being defined by its players' talent, the league became synonymous with perceived incompetence and weakness. This failure in public perception management has inflicted lasting damage, eroding trust not only among fans but also with corporate sponsors and media partners critical to the league's future. This saga is a cautionary tale about how a golden opportunity can be squandered by denial, mismanagement, and jealousy. The WNBA was handed a winning lottery ticket in Caitlin Clark, yet through a series of baffling choices it seems intent on burning it. The collapse in viewership and financial fallout are just symptoms of a deeper cultural malaise, one that resents the very star who offered a path to mainstream success. The clearest proof of Clark's impact isn't just in the record-breaking stats she set, but in the deafening silence and empty arenas that followed her absence. The question now isn't if the league has a problem, but whether it's capable of fixing it. Will they finally learn to protect their golden goose? Or will history remember them as the league that destroyed the one player who might have saved them? Based on everything so far, the future looks alarmingly uncertain.